We have a great matchup, Jordan Oliver versus Bryce Andonian. And, they just wrestled in the World Team Trials.
That is incredible.
And Oliver won at the buzzer.
All right, welcome back to BEG Wrestling. We are here once again with Tom Houck, CEO of Claw Wrestling. Been on here formerly before the Claw Invitational happened. And Tom, thanks for joining the show. The Claw Invitational has happened. I myself has seen the final product, and let me tell you something, folks. It is an incredible final product. It's out on YouTube right now. You can watch it, and I would encourage you to do so. I was also part of the event, so I have some feedback as well. But Tom, I want to thank you for joining the show and kind of get your initial thoughts and feedback from the Claw Invitational, and before we kind of go into where Claw is going in the future here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and it was great having you as part of the event. The draft that BEG did was awesome. It went well. It was our first time doing a major TV production, and so a lot of lessons learned. A lot of things that we didn't do that we intend to do going forward to make the broadcast more engaging for fans, some innovative stuff. But it was definitely a good first effort for us, the production-wise. I think the athletes enjoyed it. It went pretty smoothly, and we did decide after the fact that we need to tweak some rules, which we continue to do. The testing of rules is so important, when you're changing things significantly. And so even just yesterday, we were at George Mason University. They were allowing us to test some rules. We continue to tweak what we do with pylons so that it's not too much or too little. But overall, we were real happy with it, and it was a good turnout, and it was a good first event.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, thank you for having BEG Wrestling as a part. That was an unbelievable experience. So I actually got to see the production behind the scenes, and first time I was ever, mic'd up live like that. Incredible experience. We had Shane Sparks was there, folks, for the live draft. But I mean, you mentioned there might be some changes, some rule changes, and I know, what are you going on, like 3 years of research here since the initial start of Claw, is that right? And I have to ask you, what might be some of these rule changes?
Yeah, so the biggest thing was, one of the things we wanted to do with Claw was create new ways to score. You definitely find as you get higher level wrestlers, it gets harder and harder to score. And a lot of times in wrestling, the great marquee matchup between two greats is a boring match because their defense is so good. And it's not like some other sports where, if a great offensive team plays a great defensive team in the Super Bowl, it's still this exciting thing. But in wrestling, because their defense is so good and just the way the rules are, it can be boring. So we're like, we need new ways to score, but still make it wrestling. And one of those things is the pylon. And we wanted the bottom person to have a new way to score. But I think what happened was the top person was a little bit... This is what happened. We did this in May. We did extensive testing, and the wrestlers were just kind of wrestling as normal. And if a pylon was nearby, they'd try to get it. Mm-hmm. But this time, the wrestler started adapting to the rules and started being more aggressively just head into the pylon, right on the whistle. And it seemed like the top wrestler was at a disadvantage. The bottom wrestler was racking up a lot of points. And so we want to balance that out a little bit. So we've talked about shortening the quick score bonus to 10 seconds instead of 15, and maybe having one less pylon. And the big thing is and we started experimenting with this, allowing the top wrestler to get a pylon point. So it used to be only the bottom could get it. The top person could preemptively knock it down to take it away, but now the top person can get a point. So it gives the top person a new way to score.
Yeah, that's interesting.
As well. And so people might not be quite as aggressive in heading to the pylon when they know that the top person could get a point for it.
Yeah.
And so things like that, it's where the pylons are placed, because the fans love the pylons. The athletes generally like it. It definitely makes it more interesting to watch. It's just you don't want it to be, a pylon fest. It's finding that right balance.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think, and some of the biggest highlights from the event were pylon knockdowns, but yeah, I mean, I think you saw the different levels of strategy that it added because, I mean, to me and some of my feedback was that some wrestlers better understood that pylon rule and had a better strategy, I would say, towards it than others. And I would say just an overall if every wrestler was on an even playing field with the rules and the refs were quicker with the calls. That was part of my feedback as well. I think those refs have to know those rules like the back of their hand, just so everything, their feedback was faster to the wrestlers. But I agree. I mean, I think, obviously you guys have put in a lot of research. I like the pylons. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe tweaking that strategy and giving that top up wrestler opportunity to get that point. I mean, obviously they have to make their way towards that. You can't have him maintaining a foot contact with the bottom wrestler and knocking it down for a point, right? Because he's on top and can just jump towards it.
Yeah, even yesterday when we were testing, we found that sometimes the top wrestler would sort of dive off and knock down the pylon, and we realized you have to maintain control. Like you can't let go of the guy and just dive for a pylon. So you have to continue to ride them, after you get your pylon to get credit for that point. So it's testing, it's experimenting still. We have a lot of time. We're 12 months from now, the first season will be starting. But we have
12 months.
We have numerous months ahead to continue testing and tweaking to make sure we get that right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of leads me to my next question, which is like, I know that you're touring now. So, I mean, tell me a little bit about where you're going, some of these schools you're meeting wrestlers, and maybe where we could expect to see you in the near future.
Yeah, one of the things from the June event that we did, we had great wrestlers. We had numerous All-Americans. We had NCAA qualifiers. Very accomplished wrestlers. It was great wrestling, but still so many wrestlers didn't know about it. We had very little representation from the Big Ten, for example. I think one guy was a former Big Ten wrestler. And so one of our emphasis this fall is getting the word out to schools and colleges to make sure athletes know about this opportunity that's coming for them. And to get over, sometimes these athletes, they might hear about a new league and, here's another new league, and will it last? Who are these guys? This league has pylons, so there's some skepticism. So we're trying to get out and meet with schools. A couple of weeks ago, we were at Lehigh, and Coach Santoro and Kerry McCoy of the RTC allowed us to come in and talk to their teams, which was great. Great program, great facilities. Last week, we were up at Penn State talking to Nittany Lion Wrestling Club and the Penn State team. They were all there. Yesterday, we were at George Mason, and we're continuing to talk to other schools. Those were all driving distance for us, so it's easy. But schools further out, we're setting up Zoom calls and other means to make sure we get the word out.
Yeah,
to
got to
these
get you out to
athletes
Iowa
so that they know about it. We definitely want like Ohio, Iowa, Ohio State, Michigan, some of those Big Ten schools. Some of them have very strong RTCs. We got to make sure those athletes know about it and that they're informed and educated, about what we're doing.
Yeah, no, I agree. But to your point, there were some great wrestlers who participated in the Invitational. Ty Gadali comes off the top of my head, and he's actually in our BEG rankings, which are coming out soon, if not now. So excited, and there was quite a few, but.
And it was great. So imagine if you have all, Big Ten representation and more ACC and more, all the schools. We had nobody from, Oklahoma schools, nobody out from the Midwest really except Missouri, which had a great, sent a great group of guys.
Yep.
So, it's only going to get better and better, I think, as athletes hear about it.
So if I'm a wrestler, like when am I able, do I have to make a commitment to you? Do I got to sign a contract, or when can I say I want to participate in this? Where can I contact you at? Or what do I have to do? What kind of commitment do I have to make here?
So sometime relatively soon, just say in the next couple months, maybe by the end of the year, there'll be an athlete portal set up on our website.
Okay.
And that's where they can go and get all the information on the league and look at the contract that they'll be agreeing to if they're in the league. There'll be a draft in the late spring or early summer. The general managers of the 6 teams will have a draft. It's going to be like an NFL-style draft. It's going to be awesome. So you have to register to be in the draft.
Okay.
And then if you're drafted, you're basically agreeing to this contract. And it's critical if you say you're going to be in it and a team drafts you, that you know the dates, the commitment that you're making, how much you're going to get paid, all the details so that there's no surprises. If somebody takes a first-round draft pick on you, they expect you to be part of the team.
Oh, you're
right?
a paid professional athlete at that point.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll have this portal that has videos on the rules, welcome videos, everything about the compensation and the contract, and they'll just need to register by the deadline, which will probably be, sometime in the spring, a month prior to the draft.
All right, so there will be an athlete portal, and the draft sounds very exciting. Looking forward to that. But I know there's been some other updates, like the logo and the name now official or trademarked. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. It's just registering that with the U.S. Trademark Office, which we did a long time ago. But finally they processed it. It's not a fast process.
Why am I not
2
surprised?
years, maybe.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. But, okay, any other updates, I guess, with, like, the overall brand of Claw or structure at all, anything?
I don't think so. I mean, we're really excited about this event that we're doing on November 15th, and that's going to be another way to get the word out to fans and athletes. On November 15th, we're doing a featured exhibition match at Intermission of the Campbell Nebraska duel down at Campbell, and it's being broadcast on UFC Fight Pass.
Wow.
So if you got Fight Pass, watch it. If you don't, you can get a monthly subscription, I think, for $9.99. So you can watch the match.
So you can watch this for $9. Yeah, $10.
Yes, and it's going to be, we have a great matchup. Jordan Oliver versus Bryce Andonian. And, they just wrestled in the World Team Trials.
That is incredible.
And Oliver won at the buzzer.
Oh, yeah, that was a great match. Yeah.
It was a great match, and both guys are excited about it. They'll represent two of our teams. And, Oliver is a two-time national champ and three-time finalist, so we're very happy to have a athlete, and he's now into MMA of his caliber.
Now into MMA, I was going to say.
And Andonian just, he's so exciting to watch. He's exactly the type of wrestler we want in Claw. Somebody who's aggressive, who wants to score points, who's exciting to watch. And so that will be at Intermission. They'll do a full match. Shane Sparks will actually be there broadcasting that match, the duel.
Wow.
So he'll be broadcasting our match again. Yeah. So we're pumped about that. And so that's big for us. And then we're also kind of related to that, as we're going to do something in the spring. We might do another open tournament, but we're definitely going to do a 3-on-3 mini duel and of some high-profile people, with some pretty significant prize money. So just 3 big-time names against 3 big-time names, and we can't announce those yet. I mean, we're still working on the one team, but that will be exciting as well.
But that's in the works. Okay.
That's in the works, yeah.
Well, you just answered my next question, which was, where can I see Claw next? And so, just to clarify, November 15th at Intermission of Campbell, Nebraska duel on UFC Fight Pass, we're going to see Jordan Oliver against Bryce Andonian. I don't know if I could even have asked for a better matchup there. And then you're saying you're working on a spring mini tournament, right? So 3-on-3 or
3-on-3 mini duel, and then possibly also an open tournament for anybody to enter, kind of like we did with the Invitational.
But wrestlers are not finalized for that event yet, correct? So maybe if you're out there and you're a wrestler, maybe is that going to be the same athlete portal that they would register to get into this mini tourney, or might that be different?
For the tournament, there'll be something on our website if we decide on that. One of the big things we're doing is figuring out the venues of where we're going to hold our events. And so that's why we want to do some events at different venues. We want to continue to work with, the streaming production teams, so that when we go live, when the season starts in October of 2025, we're a well-oiled machine, which we weren't quite on June 23rd yet. It was, like I said earlier, it was a very good first attempt, but we're definitely planning on raising the bar. If you watch that, it's going to be way better and way more engaging for fans. And, as I said, we tweaked the rules as well, because there was a lot of pylon points in that June event. So it's only going to get better. And if you think that's decent, it's only going to get better and better and better.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I could not tell you how highly I thought the final product on YouTube was incredible. Watching that, a viewing experience, it was exciting. But I also agree, like, you have to have events like that in order to learn. And I think you're doing it the right way. Now, you mentioned like some venues. What are maybe some of the venues that we could expect to see some of these events next year?
Well, right now, we're planning on, and there's not a contract yet, but we're strongly, tentatively planning on having the championship dual meet. So there'll be a regular season that leads to what we call the Super Duel 1. And that will be, the hope and the plan is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the Cooper Fieldhouse, UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse, which is the arena for Duquesne University. It seats about 4,200 people, which is, we think, is a good size for us in year one. And it's beautiful. They refurbished their stadium, their arena, a few years ago, and it's like any high-end, indoor arena. Huge video screens, club boxes. It's awesome. So that's where we'll have the championship, and that's probably going to be right after Thanksgiving, possibly like Black Friday or the next day. It's kind of a dead spot in there for like the university. That's a lot of the problems with going to universities is, they have men's basketball, women's basketball, volleyball, other things going on. So we think that's a good time. Our season will start in late October and then wrap up with that in November.
So that's a pretty quick season. Yeah, that's a fast.
It's about 5 weeks. Yeah.
5 weeks. Okay. So it's dynamite. It's fireworks, and you're having it in the heart of wrestling country, arguably, right? Pittsburgh out there and PA, obviously, but.
And we've talked to people in Pittsburgh, local wrestling leaders, and they're very enthusiastic about helping us and supporting us. So that will be awesome. If we do another live event, it will probably be in the D.C. area here, where we're from, because we have a lot of connections. Mm-hmm. And we might do matches. It depends. So we're still in the process of raising money from investors. And we've raised enough, to launch this and to do it right. We've said all along we're not going to do it in some second-rate way. If we do it, it's got to be professional. So we have the money to launch, but we're still trying to raise money so that we can make it even bigger and better. And specifically use money, for more marketing, to get the word out, to grow the audience even faster. Mm-hmm. Right now, though, we're scheduled to do the regular season possibly in a studio, like over one weekend. So we do all the dual meets in one long weekend. And the reason to do that is it's a little easier for the athletes. It's like, here's the weekend you're going to wrestle, as opposed to here's this schedule and we don't know when your bye week will be and all that. Eventually we'll get to that, like a NFL type schedule. But for right now, it's like you just have to commit to this weekend. And then if your team makes it, you'll go to Pittsburgh. And the dates, though. Everything's set. Yeah. So if we start in a studio, it has to be a cool environment. It's got to look awesome. And there's a lot of MMA type events that do that. And there's not big crowd. So limited fans. But there would be fans there, but not like a huge arena, but with lights and sound and video boards and all that, make it look super cool for those regular season events. So we're evaluating studios. There's a place up in State College that we're looking at, and maybe in this area, but right now sort of the leading candidates up in central Pennsylvania.
I was at Spooky Nook. I don't know if you guys considered that. I mean, it's not much of a studio, but hey, no, I like the idea. I like the plan. But you kind of led me to my next question, which is like, what as fans and people who want Claw to work, like what can we do to help the league? You mentioned fundraising, just flat out fundraising. Like, where could we donate to? Where would I go to donate, or is there any other option for me to financially help? We
really haven't set up a mechanism for individuals to make smaller donations. So we have a sister organization that's a nonprofit that we can accept charitable donations, but we haven't really set up a mechanism yet trying to raise small amounts. So we've been focusing thus far on finding sort of major investors for the league, or corporate sponsors. And we're just starting to get into that. We just finished our sponsorship package that lists all the different ways a corporation can sponsor. And we studied a lot of leagues, especially like NASCAR, to get ideas and different types of sponsorships. And I don't know, people might not even realize, when you're watching like a baseball game or a football game now, the endless everything's sponsored. That strikeout was brought to you by, it's like,
well, and look behind crazy. The umpire. There's 20 ads on the wall behind him.
And I've never seen this before until the playoffs the other night. One of the teams had a sponsor on their helmet. Like you often see the patches on the sleeve. Yeah. But I think it was a sponsor on their batting helmet.
Anywhere you can fit them nowadays.
So we've come up with a whole package of big sponsorships and smaller things for smaller businesses. So if people know of businesses, wrestling supporters, or people, even if you're not a wrestling fan, if you want to get out in front of an audience like that. And we've got, we'll have local sponsorships for the live events, for in-person things, and then sponsorships for our broadcast, for the streams and stuff. So that would be if anybody, is aware of businesses or persons who might be interested in that type of stuff. That's what we're kind of focused on now.
Okay. And I just want to ask you one clarifying question to that. So I'm a wrestler or I'm a potential sponsor. What's the easiest way to contact you? Is it a direct email? Let's get that up there. So
yeah, on our website, if you go on wrestleclaw.com, there's a contact tab up at the top, and that will come straight to me. So
okay.
That's the easiest thing to remember.
WrestleClaw.com contact tab.
The other thing anybody can do is, it's not really money related, but we're trying to build, when you start a social media presence from zero, it takes time to build that up. And so we're, we haven't launched yet, but we try to do some things to build that up, and we're almost to 1,000. Not as big as you guys.
I know all about trying to build it up, though. It's not easy.
It's tough at the beginning to get going. So liking us on X, Facebook, or Instagram. We'll be on TikTok as we get closer to the season, and we got more content, of action. And then and also like repost, if you do follow, reposting and sharing things.
Yep.
Otherwise you get a bunch of likes, but it doesn't really grow.
Yeah. Now what do I search? Claw Wrestling on YouTube to find this invitational to watch?
Yes, all of our social media handles are claw_wrestling.
Claw_wrestling. Okay. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, if you have not watched that Claw Invitational, go watch it. Shane Sparks is the announcer. Mike Mock is there. I mean, it is an incredible event to watch. Just fun. It's fast.
I'll add to that, if the whole broadcast, because we did special introductions and we filmed the national anthem, and it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes roughly, but you can watch any match individually. If you see some wrestlers that And we also have condensed highlights of every match. When we roll out our premium website, when the league launches, you'll be able to sort by wrestler, sort by team, sort by weight class. You'll be able to watch the full match, a full duel. You'll be able to watch highlight, condensed sort of 3-minute versions of matches. There'll be all kinds of different highlight packages, that aren't available to the general public. So, but right now the condensed matches are on there, so you can get a sense of it, in 2 or 3 minutes, watch a match.
Yeah, and folks, as you mentioned, it's going to be a better product in the future. And I know we talked about it before, but you have all these new stats, and so a lot of us, like me, are stat nerds, and so all these additional wrestling stats to look at is going to be fun. One other thing, before I forget, I know that we also talked about previously, like being able to bet on these matches. Any updates, any changes on that at all?
So if we do the studio approach, and all the events are filmed in one weekend, it's not conducive to betting. Because what we're going to do, I didn't say this, is we're going to do all the matches in one weekend. They will not be shown live. We'll roll out 2 a week over the month of November, leading up to the playoffs. So we're going to have Tuesday Night Wrestling, which will be free on our platforms, and then also some fast TV channels. So on your Fire Stick or Roku. Yeah, yep. It might be on, I think there's a Fight TV channel. There's some other sports channels that are those fast TV channels that we hope and expect to be on, and anybody can watch for free. And then we'll have Wednesday Night Wrestling just on our platform, which will be called Claw Total Access, and you can do pay-per-view for that for very modest. We're not talking like UFC. We're talking like $5. You can watch a match.
Yeah.
And
well, I saw Bo Nickel was trying to compete with you for Wednesday nights, right? On Twitter, didn't he say something? He wanted to do Wednesday night wrestling.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
I'm not sure about that. I'll have to try. I didn't see that.
I think he did.
So Wednesday night will kind of be behind a paywall. But you could also subscribe to Claw Total Access, and it's going to be like $29 a year, and you'll get all types of premium content, all the matches in various formats, like I say, condensed and all that. But back to your question, we're discussing whether we want to have live betting just for the live event, the Super Duel Championship, which would be the one live event. There's a fairly steep upfront startup cost to get into the gambling arena. So we're working with a company, and we have a contract with them, and they've given us a quote. And what they'll do is create these custom software for us, a custom app that we'd have on an iPad at an event, and somebody would type in the information that's being bet on in real time, and that gets sent to them, and then they're the ones that deal with DraftKings and FanDuel and all that. Yeah. So we would be on all those platforms, but it's a significant upfront investment to do it. So we weren't sure for like one event, even if it is the title match, that we should do it. We might, if we can get that's a good example. If we get more funding, we will definitely do that, because it's a long-term investment. But if we're a little short on funding in year one to do some of the extra things we want, we'll probably start betting in year two. But we'll definitely have fantasy in year one. So there'll be fantasy leagues, and that's one way we hope to engage kids and youth wrestlers, is to get the word out to them that free fantasy with cash prizes. So hopefully people like that.
All these wrestlers have the contact information. I mean, do you want to get into kind of what the wrestler pay could expect to be, or any kind of final thoughts you want to mention on the whole league?
We're still determining pay, like if it's just one weekend. So originally it was going to be, they'd come 3 or 4 times, and we just assumed we'd get all the greatest wrestlers in the country competing, and we had to have a pay structure that, it was attractive to them. We've kind of changed on that. If it's just one weekend, you'll still get paid a very nice amount, but it's just, it's just one weekend. And so it's less than if you had to come a bunch of times. Yeah. But we kind of we moved towards, less. So it used to be like every wrestler would get this guaranteed money, period. So now it's like we've lowered that, but wrestlers that are highly accomplished will get paid like a signing bonus. So we think the wrestlers will be able to come, wrestle a weekend, make a nice amount of money, but then if they're really accomplished, like they're multiple-time NCAA champions or world team members, if those guys are interested, and sometimes they are and sometimes they aren't, because some of those guys are just singularly focused on their goal that they've been working on their whole life, to be an Olympic champion. And nothing's going to distract them or veer them off the path from focusing on that. So they might not do it, especially at the beginning, until once they see how great the league is, hopefully, they'll say, I should have done that. They can get in year two. But in year one, at that level, the top guys, it's still a question mark whether they'll do it or not. We hope they do, and we think some will, but they all might not. But we don't want to pay everybody like what you have to pay for the best names. So we've sort of lowered our pay scale, and we're still determining the exact numbers, but it will be very good. Wrestlers will be able to come in and make a nice chunk of change for a weekend. Yeah. If they win, they get paid more. If their team wins, they get paid more. We'll have fan voting to get them more money. And they'll also be able to make money. We'll usually do, for the live events, clinics beforehand, and we'll do community outreach events. So we might pay an athlete to go to an elementary school or a middle school to talk about wrestling. And then they'll also have merchandise royalties as well as we sell their uniforms. Because as you know, our guys wear 2-piece uniforms, and we want to be able to sell replica uniforms and fight shorts or compression shorts and jerseys that have their name on the back. Yeah. And if it's singlets, it's hard to, you're not going to sell a lot of singlets to adults at least. But we hope to have a lot of jersey sales and a lot of other sales. And if a guy's name's on it, they're going to get a royalty on that. So lots of opportunities for the athletes to make money.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it makes sense. You got to adjust the pay because obviously they have less of a commitment if you're going to restructure it. But it does sound like almost an uncapped earnings potential with all these other extra things or earning options that they would have. But
over time, I mean, if this works as hoped and we can grow the audience as hoped, we hope it can be very, very significant money. That's going to take a number of years, where it could be like it's enough for them to live on for a year. So nobody's predicting that right off the bat. So at the beginning, it's a nice chunk of change to come. And the athletes are going to love it. They're going to be treated like pro athletes. They're going to be reunited with old teammates or old friends on these. They get to compete on a team again. And the guys love that. You saw even in June when the Enforcers got a big pin, which was a big match. And they were pumped. And, the one guy jumped into the other guy's arms. And it's fun to be on a team. And after college, you can be in an RTC. And they might do some events, but it's different. So this is really going to be team-based. They're going to be treated like professionals. They can build their personal brands. If they're still competing, it will give them exposure. New people might watch them wrestle freestyle, and they'll get paid too. So, but over time, we want them to get paid more and more. That's the goal.
No, and I think the big thing that you said, it's brand building. We talked about it when you were here before, but it is about brand building. And to me, it's about the marketing, and man, it's exciting. You're part of a team, but yet you're building your own brand. I think it's an interesting point that you made that they're wearing shirts, so you can sell jerseys. That's just smart marketing. And the fact that these kids will have the opportunity to build their brand and sell their own jerseys, to me is exciting. The only other piece of advice I even had was to increase the marketing and of the entire league. I think we need to see more and consistent claw stuff out there. But so I think the brand building,
and we will. We've just finalized our 2025 marketing plan, and it's extensive. It's probably more than wrestling has ever done before to promote the sport. But that's where if we could spend, I'll just make up a number. You could spend $100,000 on marketing, and you'll reach so many people and grow by whatever. We could spend $500,000 on marketing. We could spend $5 million on marketing.
Yeah.
So we have to find, and some of this will be trial and error, seeing which marketing efforts give you the most bang for the buck. But we got to find what's cost effective. And I'm sort of a serial lifetime entrepreneur. And what I've generally found is with a lot of businesses is and I used to review business plans for a university, like college students doing their business plans, and even people outside of college. So many times what the entrepreneur or the new business underestimates is how much it costs to acquire a new customer, the customer acquisition cost. They'll say, we're going to have 10,000 customers next year, and they've budgeted, $500 for it. And it's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. So trying to be realistic on that, and then also figuring out which methods work, because we're really into digital marketing, and we were just talking yesterday about geofencing and retargeting and things that I don't know that wrestling has ever done much of. But man, if we can put, for people that don't know about it, sort of a digital fence around, the New Jersey State tournament or Fargo, an big MMA event, and then send targeted ads on your phone to those people telling them about Claw. Hopefully that's a super effective way, to reach people. And if it isn't, we've got 10 other things that we're trying, throwing up things against the wall to see what really is most cost effective. But the more money we have, and that's why we want more investors, we can be more aggressive in the marketing. And the quicker we build up audience, the quicker we build up a social media following, the quicker we can put butts in seats at events. That just means money for the athletes, because we'll be able to pay them. It's the problem with wrestling now, right? It's all donor supported. And I hear this a ton. The athletes sort of have this misinformation, misnomer about they want to be paid X. And you see this with other sports sometimes too, and other athletes. They want to be paid all this money, but nobody watches it. And you can't. Yeah. So we have to build the audience. We have to make it commercially viable. And we have to have a great core product that people want to watch and they think it's exciting and we can engage them. And then, we got to let people know about it through marketing. And if we do that and it's successful, then you can pay athletes more and more. Yeah, and nobody deserves it more than wrestlers. There's no harder working athletes.
Yeah, it's the hardest sport out there. But simply put, it has to be revenue generated, not donor generated, right? For this league to continue and succeed. But
Yeah, we appreciate everybody's support. Again, following on social media, spreading the word, and looking forward to next year. I think the system that we've come up with, the first draft is pretty straightforward because nobody has anybody on their team yet, and you'll draft. There'll be 7 rounds, and they'll draft their 7 starters. We have 7 weight classes.
Okay.
And then we have this free agency system, a free agent pool that teams can go to and claim guys, and figuring out all the details of that is taking a lot of time because there's all these different scenarios, and you don't want teams to be able to play the system. So you got to think about what teams might do to get an advantage.
Some savvy GMs.
But, so there's a guy tweaks his shoulder and he can't wrestle, so you got to go to basically the waiver wire sort of to pick up somebody.
That's cool though. Yeah.
So that's cool, but it's in year 2 is when it really gets interesting. We're also going to have, I think, what we call the dream draft, and this will happen before the draft, and the general manager can pick anybody in the world that they want on their team, whether they've registered or not. And so if I pick let's just say I'm a GM and I love Jordan Burroughs, and he didn't sign up for it. He didn't know about it. He didn't whatever his reasons are. He's going to wait and see if it's legit, but I'm going to draft Jordan Burroughs anyway. And then it's up to me as the general manager to contact Jordan and convince him to do this.
Oh, okay.
And we think that would be fun because
yeah.
It's like, Jordan, if you're Jordan, you're the first round draft pick in the dream draft. And he's like, what? I never even heard of it. So then if I sign you, if you're Jordan Burroughs and I sign you, that will be my first round draft pick once we get to the draft. I don't get another one. But if you say, no, I'm not interested, or I can't even reach you, then I still get my first round draft pick. So this sort of
cool.
The dream draft is like anybody in the world, anybody you want in the world, you can draft, whether they've even heard of Claw.
Yeah.
And then you've got like an amount of time to try to sign them. Huh. Then we'll go to the draft. But it gets really interesting in year 2 with this thing called Declaration Day that we've come up with. And maybe we can talk about that a year from now or whenever you want. But it's just super cool. It's a truly innovative thing that we've come up with to manage rosters. And in a nutshell, it allows fans to, it's like watching free agency in football, and there's the salary cap, and some people are really into this. How much cap money do they have? Who can they sign? Who they need to release to get this person? But I would contend, 99.9% of fans don't understand the salary cap. But they're still interested in it, and they still follow it, and they think they kind of understand.
Yeah.
Our system is way more understandable and just as strategic. In fact, it's even cooler because you have to release guys from your roster, and you have to replace them. You get to retain guys. I know I'm starting to get into the weeds a little bit, but you get to keep guys on your team that are under long-term contracts, and you get to keep some other guys, but you got to release. And so teams are like, who are they going to release, and who's in the draft, and should I retain this guy or should I not retain him? Because it depends what those guys are going to do.
Yeah.
And it's we've done some like mock things, and it's awesome.
It's cool from a league perspective, a GM perspective, but then also like a fantasy perspective. If I'm playing fantasy, I'm engaged just because this guy's on my fantasy team. I need to know, is he even going to be on the roster next week? You know what I mean?
We have to engage fans year round. We have to engage them in new ways that other sports don't, because it's hard starting up a fledgling league, in a crowded marketplace. You've got to do things to get eyeballs and to get people engaged. So we're really trying to push the envelope on innovation and doing new things. And some of them might not work, and that's the nature of innovation. But I think this one will.
Yeah, no, I like where you're going. I mean, I definitely think it's headed in the right direction. One thing you said that really impressed me, you guys actually have a marketing plan? I mean, okay, I'm sold. I mean, I think that might be the first wrestling marketing plan ever, maybe. But yeah, so you're doing it right. You're years into this, and hey, you got Bryce Andonian and Jordan Oliver going at it in just a couple weeks here. So UFC Fight Pass showcase match. I can't wait to watch that, especially in this style. Do you have a prediction who's going to win that?
I do not have a prediction. We expect a lot of points. and the guys are going to let it fly, and I think they're both excited about it. And there's some prize money on the line, so they'll be doing their best to win. And I just want to thank, if I can, Scotty sent this at Campbell, the head coach at Campbell, who came to us, and this is a great example of people helping. A couple months ago, I didn't even know Scotty. And he reached out to us, said he heard about Claw. He said he loved the pylons. And so that Campbell sent a bunch of guys to our event in June. And then out of the blue, he sent me a message, a month or so ago and said, do you guys want to do a match at our duel on UFC Fight Pass? You can get out there. And I'm like, man, if everybody was like that, this thing would be taken off so quick.
Yeah.
If everybody embraced it and said, hey, here's a chance to finally get what we all want as a professional wrestling league for real.
Yeah.
And, there's other great supporters. Frank Beasley at George Mason has been wonderful since the day we said we might do this a couple years ago. And even, I think 2 days ago, I said, could we come over and test some rules? And he's like, yeah, of course, anytime. And so one day later we were there, testing rules. So a shout out to Frank as well. But for the UFC thing, I really got to thank Scotty, because we didn't even know about it. And he reached out to us, and he's working on graphics, to promote it. And
nice.
And so it's great for wrestling. It's going to be great for the fans that are there, sort of halftime entertainment instead of just sitting there. So yeah.
Man, I have a feeling you're putting Bryce Andonian in this Claw with pylons. Has the potential to be possibly the most exciting single wrestling match of all time. This could be the break you guys need. This could blow up after this UFC Fight Pass. I'm not even kidding. Bryce Andonian and Jordan Oliver with this. I couldn't have picked two better wrestlers. But by the way, I'm going Andonian. I'm picking Andonian.
Oh, you're going Andonian?
I'm picking Andonian, right? I picked Oliver at the Worlds, and so I got to go Andonian.
Okay,
with this.
okay.
I think he's gonna understand his pylons maybe a little better. He's going to be all about them.
Well, Virginia Tech has sent some guys to our previous Claw events, so he's probably I know the guys in June who had teammates who wrestled in Claw before were picking their brains, and they seem to have a little bit of an edge. So, but we're going to try to make sure that Jordan Oliver clearly understands the rules and the strategy too.
Yeah.
And Bryce.
Well, and clearly he's able to adapt to Jordan Oliver being an MMA fighter. So yeah, I'm sure he won't have a problem. But man, I'm excited, more excited for that than the Campbell Nebraska duel.
That's going to be great. That's going to be.
But that
awesome
will be great.
too.
Yeah, Nebraska's stacked lineup this year, by the way. But Tom
and Campbell has a bunch of guys. I mean, we're excited to see Campbell.
Good squad. Yeah,
they had several guys in our event that were NCAA qualifiers.
They have several guys in our
Dominic
BEG
Zacconi. You mentioned Tay Gadiali. So yeah, it's going to be cool.
Yeah, there's some great
and it's on the
matchups.
baseball. It's at their baseball stadium, so it's on the baseball diamond. So as long as it's not raining,
it's gonna be a sight to be seen.
Yeah, hopefully the weather's cooperates.
The cherry on top. It's on a baseball field. Incredible, man! You guys are doing stuff outside of the box. I love it. I'm excited for Claw, and Tom, I want to thank you for coming on, and we're gonna continue to do our job and promote Claw. That's for sure.
Appreciate it.
I'm excited for this, man, folks. November 15th. November 15th, UFC Fight Pass. You can get it for $10. And if you don't already have it. But Tom, thanks again, and hey, I hope to have you on again here in the future.
Thanks, Zach.
All right,
Appreciate
it's been great. Appreciate it.